Mapping the risk of job losses. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.Heise here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. I have my stein of coffee, and I thought we'd have a look at this article from news.com.au. It's quite interesting, and I think quite relevant considering all the discussions about property prices and the fact that unemployment may have an impact on it. Here we have from an organization, the Center of Full Employment and Equity. I keep thinking of Kofifi from Trump's tweet. When I see that, I can't help it. I'm sure they existed before that tweet, but now that's whatever they'll be remembered by. They have done an exercise mapping some of the more at-risk suburbs. And here we have, the Center for Full Employment and Equity developed by the Employment Vulnerability Index, EVI, for small regions across Australia. The EVI is a collaboration between Professors William Mitchell and Scott Baum. The Employment Vulnerability Index is an indicator that identifies the medium-sized areas that have highest proportions of the types of jobs thought to be most at risk when economic activities decline. The construction of the EVI is explained in the EVI technical report. See the link below. The third edition of the EVI has been calculated using the latest Australian Bureau of Statistics Census of Population and Housing Geography within the focus on statistical area level 2, which are closely aligned with the all-regional classification known as suburbs. The ABS defined the SA2 as a general-purpose medium-sized area built from whole SA1s. The aim is to represent a community that interacts together socially and economically. Statisticians, everyone. Statisticians. The Employment Vulnerability Index 3 thus maintains continuity with EV2, which was released in 2011, but was based on 2011 census data. The first edition of the EVI 1 was calculated using the 2006 ABS Statistics Census of Population and Housing Geography with the suburbs as the unit of focus. It was released to coincide with the onset of the GFC. We also recomputed EV1 at the time of the SA2 geographic boundaries to allow us to track changes since 2006. Okay, so there's obviously some changes to the methodology that the ABS have done with regards to their measuring. So, as a result of the pandemic instigating a new economic cycle, we've updated the analysis using the 2016 data and the SA2 regions to help us understand where the downturn will have the most severe regional impacts. The EVI divides SA2 into 4 categories depending on its employment vulnerability score. And what I'll do is, guys, we'll take a snippet of this. I'll just get my snipping tool up, just so we can bring it back when we look at their map. So we've got red, and that's high alert. That's if you're in the red suburb. Well, is it to do with the occupants of the housing or the employment in the suburb? We'll see. More than one standard deviation above the mean. Amber, medium alert, less than 1 standard deviation above the mean. Medium is a low risk, less than 1 below, and a very low risk or low risk is dark blue. It should be noted that the underlying modeling used to compute the EVI takes into account both suburb and individual characteristics. As a result, any one person in a red alert area may have little risk of job loss, while any one person in a low risk area might in fact be very vulnerable to a job loss. But in aggregate, we would expect job losses to fall predominantly in the red and amber alert areas. Okay, so if we look at the red and amber alert areas, maybe we need to overlay this on property data. So we can click here. And what do we want to look at? We'll look at, let's do Queensland first. We'll do my state. And we will create this map. And it'll load up. It takes a moment to make it. And I'll just full screen it there. So we can see, guys, and remember, red is worst, and then amber. So red and amber are where they're predicting the majority of the job losses. So let's have a look at the Gold Coast, where I grew up, you know, the sunny Gold Coast. I mean, there we go. It's all red and amber for job losses. You know, the Valley, Talabudra Valley at red. We can see down here. Merrimack at red. Near Mermaid Beach at red. Surfers Paradise at red. Everything. Hope Island, you know, even there. So everyone is looking at getting job losses. North Straddie at red. And then we go to Brisbane. Well, we see a little of a different story, don't we? The inner ring around the city, they're all looking good. They're all very low risk. Till you have here at the University of Queensland, you know, that's an amber, so you can have more students losing jobs. No one lives at Mount Coolthus, except for, you know, the little cafe there, so it doesn't really matter. So then, the further you get out, we're starting to see down here, you know, Sunnybank, my area, Acacia Ridge, we've got a lot of industrial areas around here. We've got, well, look at that, look at the Sunnybank right there, they're red. Surrounded by a ring of yellow. Let's go out to Ipswich, guys. North Ipswich, all yellow, nothing red, so that's good. Richlands, red. We go over to Toowoomba. You can see here, so inner city, red, and then a low risk further out. Where else will we go? Sunny Coast. I mean, there you go. The Sunny Coast is not looking too good, everyone. At all. Bribey. I'm not surprised. Sunny Coast has Redcliffe going. All yellow. So, what do you think, guys? This aligns with property values. So we'll jump back here. Let's jump back and let's have a look at... Let's look at Sydney. Look at red alert down. So you can see here all the areas now as well, which are potentially going to do it. Well, I prefer the map, to be honest. I like the map. Being the architect I am. Let's look at New South Wales, guys. Where is it? New South Wales. We'll create this map. We'll just wait a moment while it loads up. Sydney's New South Wales is big. I mean, we can see here where they've got data. Broken Hill, you know, medium risk. Mildura, medium risk. We can zoom in. Albury, Wagga Wagga, medium and low. But let's have a look at Newcastle. I mean, here we go. We got all the way here. I mean, this is a mining belt, isn't it? Back here, they're in risk. You've got Newcastle, everything at risk. Oh, except no when you go in. Like so, right in the heart of Newcastle, they're at a low risk, but a bit further out, they're not. Going here, down to Sydney. Oh, so here we go. Have a look at this chart. And what I'm going to bring up with, I'll bring up another diagram I show. Okay, now look at this. We've got low risk here, the north shore of the harbour. And I'll just overlay this one here. See this chart? This is the unit price growth. So you can see all the posh suburbs there. And then you've got the more western suburbs there, the more working class suburbs there. They call it the KFC, you know, the KFC line or the goat cheese line, depending on what side you're at. If we just, you know, go back and forth, we can see who are going to be most affected at the risk of job losses. It's not going to be the people in the wealthy suburbs, is it? It's going to be the normal people or the working class people, the ones that can less afford it. So where do you think the bigger property hits are going to be? Where do you think the bigger property hits are going to be? I mean, there you go, Punchbowl, red. I mean, yeah, right in the heart of Sydney, amber. But there you go. You know, they're all good. This is why people won't feel the economic impacts of this equally, will they? They won't feel it. Further south we go. It's not looking too good everywhere. So what we'll do is we'll jump back again, and we will have a look. Let's look at Victoria. We'll look at Victoria. I'm impressed because I've made a map on my website mapping things. I'm impressed at how fast they're doing it. So we can see here. We can see, I mean, there you go. I mean, the heart of Melbourne is fine. Western suburbs are going to cop it. Around near the airport are going to cop it. Well, I'm not surprised. Around near the airport, you have more people working at the airport, would you? You've got here, down near Dandenong South as well. They're going to cop it. but the inner city are going to be okay. So, I mean, we were seeing property prices, land was getting a lot cheaper here. I was talking about it in a video a couple of months ago, it was falling down 20%. Look at Geelong. The heart of the city's okay, but everywhere else is going to cop it, guys. Ballarat, heart is a little, medium risk, medium-low risk. Everything else is looking worse. How's Bendigo doing? Yeah, I mean, there you go. There you go. So what we'll do is we'll jump back again and we'll have a look at, let's look at WA, guys. Because WA is going to be quite dependent as well on resources. On resources and exports. So they're saying, see, again, inner city Perth, they're not going to experience it. But you'll have, well, Mandurah. There you go. I mean, look at that, guys. Everything in the red. Everything the more than one standard deviation above the mean, and they're already in trouble. They're already in trouble. So guys, I will link to this. You can find it in the pinned comments below, and you can let's look at what happened. We'll look at Brisbane. Oh, they don't have a map. Okay. Oh well. I'll link to this so you can have a look at it and play around with it and see what suburbs are at risk. But I think it's very good visualizing the data on the maps. They're very good visualizing the data on the maps. So we'll jump back here and let's have a look at this article now. Let's see what they're saying, because they're saying more than 12% are on red alert. More than 12%. The economic shock of the pandemic crisis has already caused job losses across the country, but the worst is yet to come. Well, exactly. We haven't really entered a recession yet. There's only some talk of it. We're having the banks predicting potentially a 30% decrease in property. There's talk of it. Treasury is forecasting unemployment to reach about 10% or 1.4 million unemployed in the June quarter. This 5 percentage point increase in the unemployment rate is expected to unfold over 3 months, compared to the 3 years it took the unemployment rate to rise by the same amount in the economic downturn of the 1990s. 3 months as opposed to 3 years. Now researchers have mapped out the areas most at risk across the country. The Employment Vulnerability Index uses Australian Bureau of Statistics census data to calculate an index score for towns and cities with a population of more than 10,000. Co-authors Professor Scott Baum from Griffith University and Professor Bill Mitchell from the University of Newcastle combined previous EVI data and insights on the jobs most affected by an economic downturn to model the impact of the pandemic for more than 80% of Australians. They found the state with the most high-risk areas was Tasmania. Okay, actually, I'll bring up Tasmania, guys, and we can have a look at that. At 34.2%, followed by South Australia at 22%. Overall, 12% of the country was at risk. It was a high category. So we'll jump here. We can see Tasmania. Let's have a look at Lonnie. I mean, oh, there you go. There you go. The heart of the city is fine, but they're going to cop it. I mean, Lonnie's a beautiful city. It's a beautiful city. Look at Hobart. I mean, there you go. Once again, it's not... This is demonstrating that the sufferings in this economic decline is not going to be universal, everyone. It's not going to be universal. Let's have a look here. North Coast. Damn. They're just going to get hammered. They're just going to get hammered, everyone. The researchers placed areas into 2 groups, those that have existing disadvantage and those that have emerging disadvantage. Those on red alert have a high potential for job losses in areas with existing disadvantage. Those in the emerging disadvantage category include Green Valley, Epping South, Sunnybank Queensland, Salisbury East, Greenfields WA, and Brighton Point Tasmania. Okay, so they're just comparing suburbs that are already in problems, already in trouble. For a full list of all locations, you can click here. Professor Baum said the 2 groups raised different issues for policymakers. For the group we call existing disadvantaged job loss suburbs, Further labour market disadvantage will cement the social and economic malaise experienced by these communities and widen the gap with the rest of the nation, he said. He said the outcomes were different for the second emerging disadvantaged job loss group, as some workers would transition within the economy while others may not be so lucky. The challenges may include household and community burdens associated with increasing localized financial hardship or increases in a range of social problems seen in places that have been disadvantaged over the long term, he said. How deep and long these potential impacts will be is a matter of wait and see. The paper highlights how many places in our capital cities, such as Canberra in Sydney, Broadmeadows in Melbourne, and Elizabeth in Adelaide, will, if confronted by increasing job losses as a result of the current economic environment, be further pushed from the mainstream as disadvantage becomes more difficult to escape. For unemployed people living in these areas, economic growth and progress at the national level may mean little if concentrated disadvantage means that their local communities get left further behind, the author writes. I mean, that's the problem. That's the problem if you're stuck. If you're stuck in an area, you may need to pack up and move. You may need to get out. Get out of the hood, as they say. For many of the already disadvantaged red suburbs in our nation's metropolitan cities, geographic proximity to both affluent inner city and aspiring outer suburb localities means concentrated disadvantage has the potential to breed a host of social problems as residents witness first-hand feelings of being left behind. Professor Mitchell warns that withdrawing government support after the crisis is over will undo any positive outcomes. There's a real danger that the government will retract its support mechanisms too soon, he said. Ultimately, how these suburbs and localities fare will depend on the impacts of the federal government's economic rescue package and the depth of the economic downturn. Outcomes may not be as bad as some have predicted. Well, here's another suggestion. What if rather than the government continuing handouts, we create special economic regions? Maybe let's turn Brighton into one here in Tasmania, where they get no payroll tax, where they get other special advantages, where the burden of the state is reduced upon them to encourage business and development, and to encourage people to work. Perhaps. I know that's encouraging people to work is probably a controversial idea at the moment with the lockdown, but, people need to work, guys. And we will return. As always, let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. How do you think? Are you in one of the red suburbs? Do you have friends or family that are? What are you doing to prepare? Do you think this will affect property prices? Should we overlay this with property when we're looking around? Or is that just too harsh? As always, thanks for watching. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and you want to support us, there are a few ways you can. You can join us on Patreon or YouTube. You can support us via affiliate links at Amazon or eBay or Independent Reserve and Kucoin. You can use Gold Pass from the Perth Mint. Support us via our merch from HeiseSays or PayPal. Take care, everyone. I'll see you in the next video.